awakening to a nightmare. The city lies in ruins, rivers of blood flowing where life once thrived. Mortals are reduced to mere bones, their life force and spiritual energy sucked skyward by the blood. Sacrifice formation, while even cultivators begin to collapse, dantians bursting and blood pouring from their mouths. Despite desperate efforts, strength is nearly spent, and hope fades as Yuan Li continues his ruthless ritual, indifferent to their suffering. Kim Young-hoon and the others gather, battered and bloodied, facing the grim reality that they stand no chance against a nascent soul cultivator. In the midst of despair, a sliver of hope appears when Buk Yanghua reveals her bee puppet can perform a single spatial teleportation, an escape route, but only for one. As the group debates, Chongmun Ryong refuses to flee, determined to make a final stand with his thousand lustrous forest sea method, green spirit energy blooming defiantly against the sky. Kim Young-hoon, mortally wounded, also steps forward, ready to burn his last strength in a final attack. As the chaos unfolds, Buk Hyunghwa and her father restrain any further sacrifice from Seo, insisting he be the one to escape. Despite his protests, his depleted power cannot resist their spell. With a final tearful farewell, Hyunghwa hugs him, slips her mother's jade norige into his pocket, and sends him away on the bee puppet, breaking through the void as the city behind them erupts in a last desperate battle. He lands outside Yondo City, broken and bleeding, quickly consuming spear stones and recovering just enough strength to rush back. On his frantic return, the city is already drowned in blood, bodies strewn everywhere. Among the carnage, he finds Kim Young-hoon's body in pieces, Chongmun Ryung and Buk Jung-ho both dead, and Buk Hyung-hwa barely alive, her lower body and dantian gone. Desperation consumes him as he tries to save her, but Hyung-hwa, calm and rational even in death, confesses that their relationship had been a calculated move to raise her status and avenge her mother, engineered with her father's help. Yet her intent, seen through the unique vision of a peak master, radiates pink genuine affection and regret, a silent plea for him to let her go and move on with his life, even as her words remain cold to ease his pain. With her dying wish that he bury her family properly and gather the remains of the city, she passes, her soul dissolving into the void. Overcome with grief, his own intent turns blood red. Then black curses pour from his body, a torrent of yin, soul ghost incantation far beyond what any master was said to control. Absorbing the curses, his strength surges back, the chilling cold of death surrounding him. He rises, formless sword in hand, vowing with tears of black curses that he will tear out Yuan Li's heart, his sorrow now transmuted into a burning, murderous resolve. Rage and vengeance drive the pursuit through the desert as curses boil and spiritual energy churns in the wake of endless massacres. The monstrous Yuan Li leaves a trail of blood and instability as he regains his nascent soul power, moving faster with each atrocity. The pursuit is interrupted by a furious elder of the Gongmyo clan who suspects complicity in the massacre, but their confrontation is cut short as Chongmun Jongjin, head of the Chongmun clan, arrive. The misunderstanding is settled when Jongjin vouches for the protagonist's innocence and the true horror is revealed. An old monster, Yuan Li, is behind the devastation, slaughtering entire tribes to recover and even exceed his former strength. Urgency grips the cultivators as clan leaders and elders from all over the continent are contacted and begin to converge. The only clue to Yuan Li's next move is the black castle he once called home. All clans, from the northern grasslands to the eastern states and the western desert, receive warnings and mobilize their core formation experts, assembling an army of over 100 elite cultivators. Mingling among them are those burning with grief for lost kin, others seeking restitution for destroyed resources, and many simply desperate to stop Yuan Li before his strength becomes unassailable. The Black Castle is protected by a powerful formation and barrier, resistant even to the combined force of the core formation cultivators. Discussion turns to strategy as formation masters and leaders debate whether to dismantle the barrier or attempt to brute force their way inside. Meanwhile, the protagonist works tirelessly with the others to find a solution, not as a mere observer, but as a fellow victim and an experienced hand with formation. At last, a blood-red cloud signals Yuan Li's return. His aura is monstrous, his power now at the peak of the early nascent soul, and his malice suffocates the battlefield. Surrounded and outnumbered, Yuan Li only mocks the assembled cultivators, dismissing them as fireflies before the sun. As killing intent mounts, the protagonist steps forward, formless sword in hand, spiritual and internal power renewed. This time, the determination is absolute. Yuan Li must die, no matter the cost. 3 days before Yuan Li's arrival, core formation cultivators gather, burning with rage and grief over his past massacres. The temporary leader, Chongmun Zhongjin, urges unity and patience, explaining that a careful plan is the only way to avoid another catastrophe. Although everyone wants revenge, they agree to cooperate, each secretly hoping for a chance to kill Yuan Li personally. When Yuan Li finally appears, the cultivators unleash their full power. Spells and Dharma treasures rain down, but Yuan Li, now at the nascent soul stage, shrugs off their attacks behind formidable blood-red barriers. He summons monstrous blood spirits and ghost kings, their power rivaling that of nascent soul cultivators, overwhelming the alliance. Despite the terror, the core formation cultivators stick to their plan, refusing to scatter, and continue their desperate assault. The battle intensifies as Yuan Li unleashes a sea of bloody, life-draining trees, killing several cultivators and recovering his strength. He then merges 7 demon souls into a grotesque, nascent soul-level entity, further tilting the scales. The cultivators, driven by vengeance and despair, finally breach Yuan Li's pagoda barrier, exposing him to their attack. In the chaos, Yuan Li retaliates with deadly Dharma treasures, slaughtering several attackers and absorbing their life force. At last, the Alliance's true plan unfolds. The Formation Masters, led by Chongmun Zhongjin, and the heads of powerful clans activate a grand sealing formation enhanced by the region's dragon vein, trapping Yuan Li inside a mystical prison. The 8 trigrams, spirit, absorbing sealing formation, Gongmyo Riang, the head of the Gongmyo clan, boasts that not even a nascent soul cultivator can escape, but Yuan Li laughs from within the prison, hinting at a flaw in their plan. He reveals that the place they've chosen is destined to be the site of the Serving Command, Palace's next appearance, a legendary event that will break all seals in its vicinity. Realizing this, the cultivators are struck with dread. In 200 years, the seal will fail and Yuan Li will be released, likely stronger than ever. Shock and regret ripple through the alliance, but Chongmun Zhongjin rallies them. He argues that this setback is an opportunity. With 2 centuries to prepare, the continent can nurture new talents, strengthen its ranks, and be ready for the next battle. The massacre of the heaven-treading desert, occurring decades earlier than in past cycles, has set the entire continent on a path of long-term vigilance and preparation. As the chapter closes, the survivors resolve to remember this bloodshed and ready themselves for the inevitable war against Yuan Li, the Bloodwood practitioner, when the seal breaks in 200 years. After Yuan Li mocks the survivors from within his barrier, the leaders of each force prepared to return to their domains and ready themselves for both the aftermath of the Heaven, treading Desert Massacre and the Great War to come in 2 centuries. The core formation cultivators determined to gather again in 10 years at the northern grasslands at the site of the first tribe slaughtered by Yuan Li, and invitations are issued to all major clans and independent masters. As most cultivators depart, some, driven by grief and anger, linger before Yuan Li's black castle, unable to let go of their desire for vengeance. When only a few remain, one old man, Woriang, reveals that his great-grandson and his wife were murdered a decade ago, likely at Yuan Li's hands. The shared grief between those left behind becomes palpable, as each has lost dearly lovers, teachers, friends, family, and neighbors. Woriang's pain is raw, and the mutual recognition of suffering passes silently between the bereaved before they part. Returning to Qian's sick city, devastation and the aftermath of the massacre are everywhere. The city is in ruins, and the remains of the dead cultivators and mortals alike lie scattered among the sun-bleached sand and rubble. The protagonist and Chongmun Zhongjin tenderly gather the bodies of their loved ones. Kim Young-hoon's remains are found divided, his inner core stolen. Bok Jung Ho's head is retrieved and replaced, though Bok Haiyanghua's lower body cannot be found. Chongmun Ryong's body is carefully cleansed of the cursed bloodwood, and the dead are gathered for burial. Alone in the carnage, the protagonist is struck by the undeniable reality of loss, especially when confronted with Bok Haiyanghua's body. Overwhelmed by grief and the absurdity of fate, rage and self-loathing erupt, manifesting as thousands of curses, a power far beyond anything previously known. In this agony, the true intent behind the Yin Soul Ghost incantation reveals itself, the understanding that human fate is suffering. Life is a curse, and the world is forged in pain. Memories of past failures and the pain of loss rise up. The protagonist recalls the disciples lost to vengeance, the guilt of having tried and failed to save them, and the realization that, despite all efforts, he is repeating the same cycle of pain. Grief turns to fury, and a vow for vengeance is made. Yuan Li will be destroyed utterly, his soul obliterated, and his remains offered as retribution to all those trampled by his evil. For days, Qian's sick city is transformed into a vast cemetery. The protagonist buries friends and neighbors with care, placing glass swords crafted from desert sand as burial offerings in keeping with the traditions of Byokra. Kim Young-hoon receives a glass saber, and a saber tomb is made in his honor. Yet, for Buk Hyanghua, no burial gift is offered. The protagonist cannot yet accept her death. Instead, he promises himself to create her tribute only after Yuan Li's head rests at her grave. Sitting before her resting place, clutching the jade Norgai she left behind, he opens a wooden box containing not a weapon, but a blueprint, the plans for a Dharma treasure called the colorless glass sword, designed from the very sand of the desert and representing the glass swords they once crafted together. In the silence and the lingering scent of blood, the protagonist's tears, black and red, testify to his vow of vengeance, the weight of pain, and the resolve to honor those lost. After spending hours lost in grief and admiration by the grave, poring over the intricate blueprint for the colorless glass sword, a masterwork Dharma treasure left behind, there's no comfort to be found in tears. As the funeral for Chongmun Ryong commences, the clan gathers in solemn grandeur to honor their fallen prodigy. Suppressing all curses and emotion, a vow for revenge against Yuan Li takes root during the burial. The funeral lingers for weeks before the clan's elders meet, unveiling Ryong's secret formation and discussing the looming threat of Yuan Li, whose massacre at the Heaven Treading Desert has shaken the continent. During the council, the plan emerges to re-enter the Serving Command Palace, using the formation to harvest the last longevity fruits, and, more importantly, to lure Yuan Li inside and bring him down to the core formation level, neutralizing his advantage. The intent is clear: revenge through entrapment. Despite the formation suppressing all cultivators equally, there's a confidence born of secret knowledge. One of them can still fight at full strength under those restraints. If the clan provides spirit stones, a demonstration of this ability can be made. With the plan set, a party of core formation elders in Chongmun Jongjin traveled to the Black Wind Sea, where Songjin and Seo ran away aboard the Nether Crossing ship. Songjin, now aware of the devastation wrought by Yuan Li's ascension to nascent soul, is alarmed, especially for Seo Ran, whose royal sea dragon blood makes him a prime target for Yuan Li's blood art. The tale of Yuan Li's prior transgressions against the Sea Dragon tribe stirs old wounds, and it becomes clear that with the Sea Dragon King gone, Seo Ran is in grave danger. The plan to use Serving Command Palace as a trap is explained in detail, but Songjin offers a grave warning. The palace is built to mimic the original Serving Command seal, a fateful artifact that can bestow heavenly destiny on its possessor. If Yuan Li were to claim the seal, his fate would become nearly unassailable, protected by the heavens themselves. This risk does not deter the group. The solution is simple: kill Yuan Li before he can seize the artifact. The decision made, spirit stones are exchanged, the Nether Crossing ship is prepared, and the journey toward the Serving Command Palace begins. Before departing, a quiet conversation passes between Senior Seo and Seo Ran, recalling a past promise. In the shadow of looming conflict, a request is made to learn how to activate the mysterious space-breaking bead, setting the stage for what's to come within the palace and the confrontation with Yuan Li. Seo Ran takes the space-breaking bead, visibly shaken, and questions its origins. When told it was a request from the Sea Dragon King, he grows tense and consults Songjin. After arriving at Serving Command Palace, preparations are made to suppress cultivation levels within the palace, and the protagonist demonstrates his abilities despite being sealed to a lower realm. The Chongmun clan elders are convinced and agree to proceed with the plan to capture Yuan Li, relying on the protagonist's strength. He then sets up a powerful formation to nurture the longevity tree, though he does so with a hollow heart, feeling the loss of those who should have shared in this achievement. After the Chongmun clan departs with promises to return in 5 years, Songjin and Seo Ran approach the protagonist about the bead. Songjin reveals that the bead is a self-destructive treasure, only usable by a sea dragon of true origin blood, specifically designated for Seo Ran. The protagonist's honesty about withholding the bead is met with gratitude, as activating it would have destroyed the Nether Crossing ship and ended Songjin's ability to teach his disciple. Asking for the last favor owed to him, the protagonist requests help for revenge. Song Jin suggests that Seo Ran may offer more assistance, explaining that breaking into the sealed Sea Dragon Palace long forbidden to Seo Ran may hold the key to confronting Yuan Li. The palace likely contains treasures capable of countering Yuan Li's devil art. The protagonist agrees to help Seo Ran breach the seal in exchange for a chance at victory over Yuan Li. Guided by Seo Ran, the group directs the Nether Crossing ship to the southern sea where the palace lies at the bottom. Submerging beneath the calm, bright waters, they find the deep sea lifeless, drained by the massive dark seal covering the palace. At a weakened corner of the seal, where Seo Ran had already worked with powerful spells, the protagonist repeatedly unleashes his ultimate techniques, finally cracking open the barrier after a series of fierce strikes. Swept inside with the water, they find themselves in a space filled with dense spiritual energy, and Seo Ran, returning to human form, looks around his childhood home with a mixture of awe and nostalgia. The protagonist notes the immense concentration of power within the seal and flies up to view the palace from above, feeling a strange sense of familiarity with its structure. The sense of loss remains, but the possibility of finding a path to defeat Yuan Li now glimmers with the opening of the Sea Dragon Palace. As the Sea Dragon Palace's mystical structure weighs on his mind, the protagonist explores its depth, noting the similarities between its formation and the ritualistic array previously discovered in Serving Command Palace, both seemingly designed to influence the mind. Guided by Seo Ran, he penetrates the intricate outer formations and enters the inner sanctum, where the spiritual energy grows stronger and his consciousness sharpens. The search leads him to a peculiar hall, unprotected by prohibitions, but thick with the stench of blood and marked by a celestial map. Inside, burned books line the shelves, and the only clue is a lingering curse, detectable only through his mastery of the Yin Soul Ghost incantation. The curse delivers a dying message, urging Seo Ran to look beneath the celestial map. There, hidden under heavy jade slabs, he discovers a diary belonging to Jian Haiyang, a Sea Dragon tribe elder and astronomer. The diary recounts Zhonhyang's daily life, the tribe's gruesome cultivation practices using humans as livestock, and a chilling speculation put forth by the Sea Dragon King. That day and night are illusions, mere results of the cyclical flow of yin and yang energies, and that the sun and moon are fixed in the sky, not orbiting the world. Jian Hiang's own observations at the world's end confirm this disturbing truth, leaving him and other astronomers deeply unsettled. The astronomers suffer from headaches, revealed to stem from accidental encounters with the gaze or will of a great boundary, true immortal cosmic beings whose presence warps reality itself. As time passes, Zhon Haiyang notices astronomers who know the truth begin to disappear, suspecting the king himself is orchestrating their deaths to protect this secret. The king's benevolent facade crumbles in Zhonhyang's eyes, especially as he learns Seo Ran is also being manipulated and ostracized under the king's rule. In the diary's final, blood-scrawled pages, Jian Haiyang curses Seo Huel, warning Seo Ran not to trust the king, whom he calls a deranged and vengeful monster deceiving the entire tribe. The diary closes with gratitude to Seo Ran for their brief friendship and a desperate warning as Seo Huel comes to kill him. As the protagonist closes the diary, a supernatural trap springs. A blue hand bursts from the diary, seizing him, while the palace's spiritual energy crushes down, and Seo Huel's chilling voice resonates, revealing he anticipated Seo Ran would find the diary, declaring Seo Ran's usefulness finished and instructing him to rest and join his deceased parents. Seo Huel unleashes his power just as the entire Sea Dragon Palace begins to quake, leaving the protagonist fighting desperately against the king's deadly grip. A chaotic eruption unfolds in the Sea Dragon Palace as the lingering will of Seo Huel awakens, causing the palace's countless Dharma treasures to surge forth and combine into the form of a massive blue dragon. The dragon, infused with the remnants of Seo Huel's consciousness, grows brighter and more volatile with each exchange, threatening to self-destruct with a force nearing the power of a nascent soul. Trapped by the palace's seals and the rampaging dragon, the only escape comes when the Nether Crossing ship breaks through the formation, allowing a desperate retreat just as the dragon detonates, obliterating the palace and all its treasures. After their escape, Song Jin arrives, dismayed that the Sea Dragon Palace's treasures have been lost. Only the diary of Zhon Hyang rescued amidst the chaos, remain. The diary's residual consciousness triggered the disaster, and Songjin examines it to ensure no further traps linger. Seo Ran, deeply affected by the diary's contents, finds himself struggling with a sense of abandonment and loss of purpose, yet with some encouragement is reminded of the bonds he has formed. Discussion turns to a mysterious spell formation witnessed in the palace, which Songjin identifies as a spell of awakening meant to clear the mind and awaken the upper Dantian, a spell reflecting the long rivalry and mutual influence between the Sea Dragon tribe and Black Ghost Valley. The protagonist learns that the hidden chamber they accessed had once served as the command center for the palace, but the true intentions behind the placement of the spell remain elusive. Despite failing to gain material treasures, the protagonist secures a promise of help from Songjin for the coming challenges. Time passes, and after a decade spent gathering allies and resources, the great conference of core formation cultivators arrives. The protagonist, now emotionally numbed and distant, arrives at the conference grounds, greeted by old acquaintances. A chance encounter with Wu Riang reveals a painful link to the past. The jade ornament at the protagonist's waist, once belonging to Bukhayang Hua, was also the heirloom of Wu Riang's great-grandson, a victim of Yuan Li, long before the current cycle. The recognition underscores the tragic web of fate that binds them all. Wu Liang recounts how his family became entangled in tragedy after Yuan Li's massacre, revealing a chain of loss that connects him to others harmed by Yuan Li's cruelty. As he and the protagonist reflect on the devastation wrought by the powerful, a grand council of nearly 200 core formation cultivators gathers their final hope against Yuan Li. Chamunjongjin, chosen to lead as a descendant of the Azure Tiger Saint, organizes the plans and proposes weakening Yuan Li by drawing him into the Serving Command Palace, where his cultivation will be forcibly reduced. The hope for victory hinges on rare treasures left in the palace. While most artifacts are mundane or single-use, the revelation of two powerful talismans, the Heaven-Striking and Heaven-Sealing talismans, sparks new optimism. These talismans can replicate the might of a heavenly being, offering a fleeting but decisive chance to wound or defend against Yuan Li. The Byok clan's head proposes a bold plan: use the palace to restrain Yuan Li and then strike decisively with the talismans, with the protagonist and other key cultivators leading the assault and others supporting from behind. Although many factions vie for the spoils, the protagonist is focused only on ensuring Yuan Li's demise, determined that this cycle will not repeat the failures of the past. After the meeting, the protagonist quietly shares a secret, more assured plan with Chongwon Jongjin, insisting on confidentiality and further safeguards to guarantee Yuan Li's death. The alliance then retrieves the last treasures from the palace, the most valuable being a handful of potent talismans and various immortal liquors designed to temporarily enhance abilities for the coming battle. These are distributed primarily to the cultivators who will face Yuan Li directly. With the strategy set and all factions racing to strengthen any potential core formation candidates, the protagonist prepares for extended cultivation, planning to perfect his Yin Soul Ghost incantation before the final confrontation. Time passes rapidly, 2 centuries in the blink of an eye. When the decisive moment draws near, 3 core formation cultivators, including Byok Song, travel to a remote mountainous region. They seek out the protagonist, now practicing curse arts alone in a forbidding cave surrounded by ominous energy. Recognizing the urgency, Byok Song respectfully summons him, signaling that the time for vengeance and the final battle with Yuan Li has arrived. Sinister shadows stir in response, heralding the protagonist's emergence and the story's march toward its fateful clash. From the depths of the cave, a dreadful presence emerges, cloaked in a dome of darkness so thick that even powerful cultivators hesitate before it. Byok Song greets this entity, recognizing his cultivation as only at the key building stage, but with power rivaling a core formation expert due to the thousands of curses swirling around him. The other cultivators, unaware of the true danger, attempt to assert their superiority, only to be swiftly and mercilessly subdued. One is struck down by a black hand, her defensive spells crumbling to nothing, while the other unleashes attacks only to be instantly countered by a myriad of curses. A clay figure inscribed with her blood becomes the instrument of her defeat, leaving her paralyzed with fear as a red mark appears on her own neck, mirroring the clay doll. Only Byok Song's intervention halts Xiao Yun Hyun from finishing her, and with a snap of his fingers the curses withdraw, though Byok Song warns the wounded women not to participate in the imminent battle against the nascent soul monster. As Seo Yun Yon departs, Byok Song notices a delicate glass sculpture deep inside the cave, A man and woman dancing with fans, the woman's face rendered with loving detail. After a moment's silent contemplation, he takes the sculpture and follows after Seo Yunhyun. Meanwhile, Seo Onhyun arrives at the sandy wasteland where Cheonseok City once stood. The graves he made, the glass swords, all are buried or broken by time and sand. He recalls his promise, knowing the reckoning will come soon, and uses a formation to keep the graveyard uncovered. From the thousands of shattered glass swords, he selects 3,000 that remain intact, apologizing to the dead as he gathers their strength for the coming vengeance. Following the blueprint left by Bukhayanghua, he carefully engraves spiritual circuits onto each sword, creates a new colorless glass sword set, and reads her final message. Her hope that the last 650 swords would be crafted together, commemorating each day he spent in the city with her. Black tears drip from his shadowed face, turning into curse energy that eats away the sand as he grieves for her and promises to complete what they could not finish together. Carrying the 3,000 colorless glass swords, Seo Yun-hyun leaves Cheonseok City. In the sky, he meets Byok Mun-song, who admits he was waiting not just as an escort, but to mourn as well. Seo Yun-hyun invites him to mourn together after the war's end, and side by side, they set out for the heart of the heaven, treading desert where the final confrontation with Yuan Li awaits, determined to fulfill their promises and see the war's conclusion.